Hello students, and welcome to another English Solutions for Business and Life video. Don't forget that you can always get in touch with us through email or give us a call. We are at englishsolutions001@gmail.com. Let's begin. In this video we're going to be covering Unit 5 for our elementary book, and we will be covering the grammar aspects. The two items that we're going to learn and review are time expressions and also frequency adverbs. Before we get into the first item, which is frequency adverbs or time expressions, there are some words that we need to check. So please after me repeat. Wow. Alright, let's begin. Repeat. How often? How often? How often? If you notice, we do not pronounce the T. We say it like if you don't see the T there. The second one is every. 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 Okay? If you can see, the second E is not pronounced very much, or almost not pronounced. The third one is day. 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 As you know, a day consists in 24 hours. The next one is week. 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 And as you know, a week is 7 days, from Monday to Friday. The next item is month. 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 Make sure you check the pronunciation of this. Remember, it's you put your tongue between your teeth. And remember that a month is 30 days. The next item is year. 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 And as you know, a year consists in 365 days. The next item is once. 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 And once means one time. The next one is twice. 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 And twice means 2 times. And since there are no other expressions for one time, there are only expressions for 1 time or 2 times. After that, we're going to use 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 times. Let's continue. Now let's look at this example. The question here, the question we're using here is, how often do you go to the movies? We have 2 options here. I can say, I go to the movies every week, or I go to the movies every month. Alright, let's begin with the question. Let's label it. How often is our question word? Yes, that with this expression or with this question word, we want to ask about the frequency we use, or with the frequency, with what frequency we go to the movies, right? We have do, that is our auxiliary, and then we have you, that is the subject. We have go, which is our verb in present, and we have to the movies, that is our complement. Now, in the answer, I go to the movies every week, we have a new element. Then again, here we have our subject, which is I. We have go, that is our verb in present. We have to the movies, that is our complement. And we have every week, that is our frequency adverb or time expression. In the second option, I go to the movies every month, we have then again the same elements: subject, verb in present, complement, and this time instead of every week we have every month. As you can see, it's we use every, and we can combine it with week, month. We can also use year. Alright, let's continue. Now, if we want to be more specific, we have all these examples here. So we have the question, how often do you have English class? In this question, well, we have then again our question word asking about the frequency. We have our English class, we have our auxiliary do, we have our subject, in this case you, we have our verb in present, and then we have English class, our complement. In the answer, I have English class twice a week, we have our subject, we have we have our verb in present, we have our complement, and then we have our time expression. Twice a week. Remember that twice means 2 times. Or we can answer, I have English class 5 times a week. We have our subject, our verb in present, our complement, and our time expression. Remember that there are only expressions for 1 time and 2 times. And after that we have to specify a number. 3 times, 4 times, 5 times, etc. Alright, remember, don't forget that we have many combinations here. I used here once, and remember that once means 1 time. And we have some combinations. We can say once a day, once a week, once a month, or once a year. The next item of the day is frequency adverbs. Okay, they are similar to the other ones, but the grammar and their position is different. As you can see, we have a line here expressing 0, which means 0 times, and we have 100 here on this side that means all the time. Okay, as many times as possible or all the times. Okay, so then the same exercise we always do, guys. Please repeat after me. Never, never, never. This means that when we say never, the times we do this is 0. Then we have sometimes, sometimes, sometimes. This means that probably we do it 50% of the times. Then we have often, often, often. Don't forget that we do not pronounce this T over here. We write it, but we do not say it. Often means perhaps 75% of the times. And we also have always, always, always. And well, as it is here, very clear, it is when we do this, or when we do an activity 100% of the time or all the times. Okay, this is the setting or the way we use frequency adverbs in English with most of the verbs, or well, better said, with all the verbs except the verb to be. We're going to explain the verb to be in a little while. As you can see in this example, we have she always takes a shower at night. In this one, we have our subject, she. We have our frequency adverb, always, meaning that this person always, all the time, takes a shower at night. We have our verb in present. Don't forget that if it's he, she, or it, we need to use the S. And we have our complement, a shower at night. As you can see, the position is between the subject and the verb. Now let's move on to the next item. I never go to parties on Mondays. In this example, we have our subject, we have our frequency adverb, we have our verb in present. Since it's not he, she, or it doesn't have the S, and we also have our complement, to parties on Mondays. One more time, don't forget, between the subject and the verb. Okay, here we have another two examples of these frequency adverbs. Alright, so in the first one we have, we often watch The Walking Dead. In this one we have our subject, we have our frequency adverb, we have our verb in present, and we have our complement. In the second one, he sometimes fixes computers at home. We have our subject, we have our frequency adverb, we have our verb, then again don't forget the S if it's a simple present. Do not get confused. Some people get confused because there's an S here, but that's the S that goes together with the frequency adverb, so do not forget to write and to say that S. Alright, and finally we have our complement, computers at home. Now we have another example here. We say, if somebody asks you, how often do you use Facebook? We can use the expressions we just studied. In option number 1 we have, I use it every day. Or you can say, I always use it, which are very similar in meaning. And as you can see, we're using the time expression and the frequency adverb here. Well, let's analyze each of them so that we can practice our grammar a little bit more. How often is our question word. Don't forget, how often. When we want to ask for the frequency of an activity, we have an auxiliary do, because it's a direct question for you. And we have you, which is the subject. And we have our verb in present and our complement, because we want to know what we use, how often we use what. And in the second one, we have I, our subject, verb in present, it, which is our complement. Remember that it in this case means Facebook. And every day, our time expression that we already saw, every day. And then we have our subject in the second answer, I always use it, subject, our frequency adverb, between the subject and the verb, which is in present, and it. Then again, remember that it means Facebook. Alright. Now, remember that I told you that the verb to be is different. The verb to be is used differently in many grammar structures, so it is very important that you can differentiate them. As you can see, we have two examples using frequency adverbs. We have I am always happy, and we also have she is never at home. As you can see, the position of the frequency adverb is different than the other examples. We have our subject, I, we have the verb to be, am, we have our frequency adverb, always, and we have happy, that is our complement. In the second one, she is never at home. We have she, that is our subject, is the verb to be, never, frequency adverb, and at home, that is our complement. As you can see, one more time, the formula is different. In this case, the verb to be goes first, and after that we put our frequency adverb. Remember that in the others, it is the other way around. For example, I always go. In this case, we have our subject, we have our frequency adverb, and we have our verb, a verb that is not the verb to be. This is important to remember in your exams and when you express yourself in English. Let's recap a little bit. Remember that, well, this is a video for your favorite English institute. We are in Unit 5. We checked our elementary book, which is the second level or third level, depending, I don't know. And we checked the grammar. The grammar is time expressions and frequency adverbs. Well, you can double check that pronunciation if you think it's necessary. The question we use to ask for the frequency of an activity is how often do you? And one example can be I go to the movies every week, or I go to the movies every month. Alright, if somebody asks us how often do you have English class, we can say I have English class twice a week, 5 times a week. And remember that we have several combinations. Make sure you can practice them. You practice them with your teacher in class. We saw the frequency adverbs, and the frequency they express never for 0, sometimes for 50% of the time, often for 75% of the time, and always for all the time. Don't forget one thing, these percentages are relative. They're not exact. Okay, so maybe in your book the number is different. Example, she always takes a shower at night. The position, very important to remember it, between the subject and the verb. We often watch The Walking Dead. Then again, that position of elements, important to remember it. And well, finally, the verb to be. In the case of the verb to be, we make an inversion, and instead of starting with the frequency adverb, we start with the verb to be. Example, I am always happy. And okay guys, well, I hope that this video was useful for you. I'll see you around in another English Solutions for Business and Life video. Goodbye.